The 22nd floor secret. Why a CEO's guest became her biggest confession. Margaret Ellis had built her empire from nothing. At 53, she sat at the top of Ellis Innovations, a company worth $300 million, with her name on the building and her portrait in the lobby. Every morning she arrived at exactly 7:45, took the private elevator to the 22nd floor, and began her day with a precision that had become legendary in the industry. Her staff admired her competitors feared her, and her secret, the one she had kept for 11 years, was locked behind the door at the far end of the executive corridor, the one marked simply storage. It was not storage. It had never been storage. Behind that door lived a woman named Dora, 71 years old, with silver hair and arthritic hands and a smile, so warm it could have melted the steel beams, holding that building upright. Dora had been Margaret's housekeeper for 20 years before. A stroke left her unable to work and, due to a paperwork failure in her immigration status, entirely without support. Margaret had faced a choice 11 years ago. Let the woman who had raised her children, who had held her hand through her divorce, who had sung lullabies to her grandchildren, face the streets, or do something that no corporate attorney would ever approve. She had chosen the latter. The room was small but full of light. Margaret had installed a proper bed, a bathroom, a little kitchen corner, a television, and shelves lined with the romance novels Dora loved. She paid for Dora's medications out of her personal account, labeled in the books as facility maintenance. Every morning before her first meeting, Margaret would knock 3 times on that door, and Dora would open it holding 2 cups of tea, and for 20 minutes, the most powerful woman in the building would sit on a footstool and talk about nothing important, about the pigeons on the window ledge, about the soap opera Dora was following, about whether Margaret was eating enough. It was the only 20 minutes of her day when Margaret Ellis was not a CEO. She was just a woman who loved someone who needed her. The secret unraveled on a Thursday, the way secrets always do, not with drama, but with something small and accidental. A junior facilities manager named Priya, 26 years old and thorough to a fault, was conducting a routine compliance audit and noticed the anomaly in the floor plan. One room unaccounted for. Power usage, inconsistent with storage. She knocked. Dora, assuming it was Margaret, opened the door wide and said, "You're early, Miha. The tea isn't ready yet." Priya stood frozen. By afternoon, the story had reached the board. By evening, Margaret was summoned. She walked into that boardroom and did not sit down. She stood at the head of the table and looked at 7 faces, waiting for an explanation, and she gave them one, all of it. Without apology or corporate language or legal hedging, she told them about Dora's stroke. She told them about the paperwork. She told them about the tea every morning and the romance novels and the pigeons. She told them that for 11 years, this arrangement had cost the company nothing and harmed no one, and that she would accept whatever consequences they deemed appropriate. But she would not pretend that she was sorry. The room was silent for a long time. Then Gerald Marsh, 70 years old, the longest-serving board member and a man who had never once, in Margaret's memory, shown visible emotion, took off his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyes. When he looked up, he said, "My mother was a housekeeper. Nobody helped her." He voted to let Dora stay. The others followed one by one. What happened next was not in any business manual. The company's legal team quietly worked with an immigration advocacy group to resolve Dora's status. A proper suite was arranged on a lower floor with natural light and a garden view. Margaret continued her morning tea, now without secrecy, and Priya, the young woman whose audit had started everything, became Dora's most frequent visitor, bringing her new novels and listening to her stories about a life fully and beautifully lived. Margaret gave an interview months later and was asked what she considered her greatest professional achievement. She did not mention the revenue figures or the acquisitions or the industry awards. She said knowing that doing the right thing quietly for 11 years was worth more than any headline I ever chased. Some confessions do not destroy you. Some of them set you free. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories, where every story reminds us that quiet acts of love are the ones that truly last.